companies find out what they're great at and amplify it through brand and content marketing. And I've been in the voice space for a little over a year and a half. And I'm very excited to be joined by two incredible professionals as well as all around good people. And I want to introduce them to you. I have with me Shamala Prayaga. She is the product owner, digital assistant at Ford Motor Company. And she has almost 20 years experience designing for things like mobile, web, desktop, and smart TV interfaces, and over 5 years of designing voice interfaces for connected homes, automotive, and wearables. She has spoken at multiple tech summits. She's also the author of the book Close Calls and her new upcoming book, which we're very excited about, called Emotionally Engaged Digital Assistant. She's worked for AOL, Amazon, and now leads Ford's autonomous digital assistant innovation for voice and chatbots. Welcome, Shamala. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Kitty.
And I also have with me Mehul Patel. He is the Director of Product Management at SoundHound. He has successfully managed products from early vision all the way through customer deployment. He's worked for companies like Intel, Adobe, VMware, and is also a part of the Silicon Valley Product Management Association. He currently at SoundHound leads the product management for Houndify, which is a platform for artificial intelligence with a passion and focus on applying AI and machine learning to productivity and business intelligence for clients such as Mercedes, Kia, Honda, Hyundai, and more. Welcome, Mehul. Thanks for being here as well.
Thank you, Carrie. Great to be here.
So for those of you that are joining us, if you have questions or comments, you can go onto the right-hand side and put them in the discussion in the Q&A. And as we have time, we will interact with you. And you're also free to reach out to any of us during the conference or online afterwards as well. So I want to get straight into it. In a VoiceBot article, we love VoiceBot here with Voice, they put out something about a few months ago. And it stated that the population reach of voice assistants in the car is actually over 45% higher than through smart speakers. Shamala, I'm going to start with you. Why do you think that is, and why is in-vehicle speech recognition so important?
That's a great question, Kerry. So I would say the first thing is, like when you are in the car, you are busy, your hands are busy, eyes are busy, and you're focusing on driving. And there are too many things you want to do at that time. You want to maybe call someone or check your email. Like I keep doing that every time there's a ding, I have the itch to look at what message that is, right? And you cannot do those kind of things when you are driving. And that is where, the beauty of being able to do all those things through voice comes into play. And that's more relevant, because your hands are busy, your eyes are busy. So, and that's one of the reasons. Now, another thing is you are mobile. And if you are going to a new location and you don't know the address or you don't know, like nearby Starbucks or any points of interest, then, it makes more sense to ask your car, like, hey, find me a nearby Starbucks versus, a voice assistant at home where you don't even, because it's in your home, the surrounding. And that is why, like some of these contextual use cases makes more sense when they are in car. And that's pretty much the reason why, it's picking up in cars.
I agree with you, Shamala, that car is a great use case for voice assistants. Combination of safety and convenience, like you said, is especially effective in the car. Also want to add that it's not just about safety with hands-free commands. Good voice assistants also have easy, intuitive, fluid interface, right? So something that doesn't require the users to be overly occupied or distracted by unnecessary complexity. In fact, voice assistants allow drivers to keep their focus on the road, be alert, and if something that happens, they're ready to handle any unexpected obstacles on the road. And so looking in the future, I'm really anticipating assistants to be used even more in the car going forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. Being able to have something where it keeps you safe is a huge part of it as well. And for those that don't know, voice in the car actually started back in 2001. And of course, it continues to grow. And currently, it seems the most favorable use case falls under talk, go, or play. Mehul, I'm going to start with you. What does this mean, and how have you seen digital assistants in the car improve over the years?
That's a great question, Carrie. Voice in the car has indeed been around for a long time, back in starting in 2001. I remember buying a new car, and it had voice on, so I was pretty excited. Try it out. But as you know, it didn't quite work as well. it only recognized a very small number of commands, and that too had to repeat myself many times, right? But in the last few years, the advent of modern speech recognition technologies, voice has really improved, right? They have handled the noise better, they can handle accents better, and something that's important to a lot of us, which is it can handle natural conversations better, right? And so many people have started using voice assistant in the car for common tasks like calling people, looking at places and directions, like Shamla said earlier, and also playing music, right? Or auto partners are telling us their users are starting to use voice assistant on a regular basis and expecting to use even more as they continue to improve.
Yeah. And I would like to add like a couple of more use cases, which people have been desiring and, like companies are putting efforts into is, around things like email is of course one thing, dictations, these were first initially launched in Siri or, like smartphones, but now that's a very relevant use case even when I'm in the car or appointments. Like I used to do that when, like we were commuting before the work from home era. Like I would have meetings at 7 o'clock and I'm driving and, I have to attend the meeting or I have to schedule a meeting and things like that. So it's so easy to do those kind of things, like, hey, join this meeting for me. And then, just being able to concentrate on the driving and things. So I feel like I mentioned, contextual use cases will become more and more relevant in this case, where, like whatever we can achieve when we are driving, people will be able to do that because voice enables us to do so much more than, like being able to have a distracted experience.
Yeah, I love that you're both harping on, again, not having a distracted experience, but something that is interactive and is actually keeping you safe and helping you with what you're doing in the car. And from an automotive perspective in general, Ford and Kia is a client of SoundHound as well, you're both ranked in the top 5 of auto brands that seem to have drivers that are more likely to convert from testing the voice assistant to actually using it on a consistent basis. And I'm curious, for both of you, and Shamla, we'll start with you. What is it that your team is doing in the voice space when it comes to things like maybe speech recognition, interface design that makes the brands that you work with have such an easier time converting their customers to use voice on a consistent basis in their vehicle? So
I would say, there are a combination of things, and Mehul touched on some of those, like natural language. So in the previous models of the cars, it was a challenge. Although companies wanted to do it, natural language was a challenge because of the vendors or, their capabilities, and the speech recognition was still evolving. And we realized natural language is one of the biggest opportunities. So, we've been focusing a lot of our effort trying to see how we can make our interfaces more natural. So we collect as many utterances through different kind of testings and stuff like that early on so that, we can get the experience. The second part is, I believe that, when you interact with a voice assistant, it's not just, the conversation, when you ask something, the response, whatever you get, but everything inside the car makes the experience. For example, the voice templates you show, the visual cues you show, the ear cons you play, everything forms the experience of the voice assistant. And in the past, not many automotive industry or companies, focused on these kind of things, and you would have big icons and stuff. And what I've realized is, that all of those little things are making that connection with the user, and they feel the overall experience because they get a multimodal experience and they get more, humanistic kind of prompts instead of, okay, please say a command. Now, if we say, how can I help you? That drastically changes how the user feels. And if, we say, how can I help you? Or, hello, I'm your bot, I can do XYZ for you. So now the experience is completely different because now you are setting the expectation and you are making them successful by, giving them some things you are capable of doing, like expectation settings. So I see, these are the kind of little things which can be, mended. And these are very low hanging fruits, I would say, which we can focus on because we cannot control the technology.
Yeah, great point, Shams. I'd like to share 2 other areas where our teams made great innovations to help our partners. The first technique we call deep meaning understanding. The new innovative approach allows us to understand very complex conversations. Recognizing simple commands like call mom or play music is a good start. But real life commands are usually much more complex and can have long, complex occurrences, right? When users try something like find nearby restaurants excluding Italian, with most voice assistants, they're going to get Italian restaurants as a result. Now, that's not a good experience, especially when you're driving a car, right? Because that's going to force you to kind of scroll down, look at the screen, and suddenly you're no longer paying attention to the road, right? The most important thing to do while you're driving, right? So with deep meaning understanding, we allow users to say pretty complex and natural conversations, such as, show me Asian restaurants, excluding Chinese and Japanese, and have more than 4 stars, right? We also support follow-up questions with a full context. So they can say, now sort by rating and pricing and only show the ones that have they're open past 9 p.m. on Thursday. So that really makes it easy for users to use it just like how you and I are talking right now, right? Rather than talking the robot talk. The second area, and I want to go back to what Shyamala said, and it's really important that to offer the best experience to users, voice assistants must be fully integrated with the car and its features, right? It must be designed and customized that's in alignment with the brand and the product, right? And because of that, we don't believe in the world where the one assistant is going to rule them all, right? Some model there, but we humbly believe that instead there will be many voice assistants specialized in different areas, right? This is just like the real world we live in works, right? To use the example I used earlier, we don't expect a top-rated restaurant to serve both Italian and Japanese food. That would be suspicious, right? Also, my wife loves to use the example where her favorite hairstylist starts giving her advice on investing in stock market. Doesn't sound right? There are experts for different things, and similarly, there'll be a different voice assistants for different things. So our platform allows our partners to customize voice assistants to match their company, their brand, the product, and their features, right? They can customize almost every aspect, including the name or wake-up phrase, like Hey Mercedes or Hello Kia, the phrasing and the style of responses, and also sometimes doesn't get talked about, but this data source. So the information users get from the voice assistant matches exactly with what they get from using the car dashboard. Right? And that way, they can build the most delightful experience for the users, because that's what keeps the users using voice assistants.
And I'm curious, do either of you find that there are certain questions that users are asking in the vehicle, having done this for a few years now, that they want more from it?
Yeah, I've seen people wanting to do like maintenance scheduling or, like tire pressure or these kind of things, like how much is my tire pressure? Although, those kind of information is available, but people feel like, listening to something is more easy to understand. So we've seen people asking for those kind of things, and even owner's manual related things where, you have the entire owner's manual and you want to just know a couple of things like how do I recline the seat or things like that. They want the assistant to be able to help with those kind of stuffs.
Yeah, one of the great phrase that got a lot of attention in India press was when we released the car that says, "I'm feeling too hot." It was Indian summer days, and instead of reaching out for fan or AC, when the user says, "I'm feeling too hot," it will adjust the temperature from wherever it is to colder temperature, right? And so, great example of really understanding what the user is saying and not forcing them to say, go up by 3 degrees or 5 degrees or whatever that happened to be. I'm just feeling hot. Do something, right? And that's what the smart assistant's supposed to take care of.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, again, you want it to be natural, which is what you're talking about. Before we continue our questions, we do have some questions here from those that are watching. From Mr. Ray here, he said, any plans to have the voice bot heavy like a tourist guide? Example, now look to the left and you can see we're moving past such and such museum or such and such. Any thoughts or things on that?
That's a great question. So definitely, something I've been thinking about in the autonomous vehicles, because that's when, it would make more sense, because you are free now to look at your left and right and, understand like, okay, on your right is the Golden Gate Bridge or something. And, like a little bit of history, you'll be more keen to do those when, you are in an autonomous versus when you are driving. And this would not make sense in, a city you already know versus, this will make sense when you go to a new place. Like for example, if I go to California or China, or I'm using an autonomous car, now I want to know what is there, not in my city where I'm like traveling every day. So for sure.
A great point, Shyamla. Even in your city, sometimes what we're looking into is including the landmarks that are pretty familiar to, right? Because sometimes at nighttime, which is kind of early in the morning here, when you drive when there's no sunlight, it's hard to read those street names, right? Or to know exactly where to turn. Whereas if it says, here is, turn left after this landmark that you already know, you're at comfort because you know exactly where you're going to be. So including the real world, in case of tourism, some attractions, but even in our own city, when we know some of the landmarks, that makes it easier as well.
That makes sense. And we have Harveen said a lot of accidents happen when drivers are distracted due to music controls or dash panel controls. So using things like SoundHound can assist talking to devices as in please reduce the AC temperature to 25, which is what both of you are discussing here as well. Mehul, this is kind of a personal question to you. What are some regional and global trends that are impacting the automotive voice recognition market, especially in India? And what can be done in India with digital assistants and vehicles at this point?
That's a great point, Carrie. India, particularly right now, also like many other parts in the world, have three exciting trends happening right now. Right, the first one is that there are increasingly more connected cars on the road. Right, this is a tremendous change happening as we speak. And with connectivity, your two key benefits. One is you now can access really powerful cloud-based voice recognition models, right? Prior to that, we were kind of forced to fit into car whatever you could, right? It also allows you access to more real-time information like weather and sports scores and things that people are interested in. So a big improvement in terms of the cars, and thanks to Shyamla and many of our auto partners for leading that. The second is advent of modern speech recognition solutions. Right, they're very good at handling accents and languages, especially for Indian names. Right, like my name, for example, I was repeating myself so many times just to, my own name. The city names, places of interest. They're also much better at handling noise, a critical factor everywhere in the world, especially on the Indian roads. Right. So, and finally, the third one is many users are becoming a lot more comfortable, and they've used it. They're already familiar with voice. They've already used them in the smart speakers or their own phones. Right. So voice is no longer some strange thing that Star Wars and Star Trek used to do. This is something that we do ourselves. And so convergence of these three areas, really great opportunities for voice assistant in the car in India. And as you know, I've had a great fortune and privilege to work in India for the last 3 years with the great partners like Hyundai and Kia to build voice assistant for the Indian market. We launched the first car beginning of last year, and had a tremendously positive reception. Since then, we've added more features that are specifically geared for India. You already IPL and support for cricket leagues, right? That's it's a national passion for India cricket, and so we've added that after we released the first model. We also recognize the Indian holidays, something that's you go to India and it's holidays all the time, right? And so that's an important part of Indian market. And as users start becoming more familiar and trust the assistants in the car, we're continuing to invest more and offer features like helping you recognize or organize in general, right? Like that's the other part that's important, that assistance will no longer just be about the car and simple things. It'll help you organize your life in general. And so very exciting times indeed.
Yeah, and I love that you are not only building these voice assistants for the car, but like you said, you're adjusting them based on where the cars are in the world, and so that makes it more, user friendly, which is really important. Shamla, do you have anything to add to that as well?
For me, it's like, especially, what Mehul mentioned is all, like accurate, knowing the Indian roads and Indian driving system and, the names and all of those things. I feel like, those are really important points. One thing, which, I would be focusing on more is the context, because, what happens is a contextual design is not being thought about when we are doing any kind of design. And one of the simple examples of contextual design could be, the first time versus returning user experience, especially India, it's picking up really now. And we speak a lot of dialects, a lot of languages. Not everyone is very comfortable with, English, right? So that's one part of it. But the other part is, if these assistants are capable of giving, more hand-holding to novice users versus, returning users, you just taper certain things, then I feel like these assistants would be able to fit into everyone's life more, because rather than, branding it as, okay, this is stupid, dumb, or, something like that, because it talks a lot, people will feel more connected to the assistant. And then all the different things and great use cases which we are talking about, people will want to use more.
Yeah, and Shamala, you are extremely passionate, which is part of what your new book is going to be about creating personality in the car with the digital assistants. What does that mean for you, and why is it important from a business and a consumer perspective?
That's a great point. So one of the things, I was in a personal branding event a couple of years back, and this person said, if you don't brand yourself, people will start branding you. So you need to decide, how do you want to brand yourself? How do you want to portray yourself? And that is so true for voice assistants as well. And, I feel like these voice assistants are like an employee of the company, like when you are interacting with someone, you immediately, reflect with the brand or the company. And anthropomorphism is so real. Like, we name our cars, or, like we name our plants and things. So we try to find, like non-living like living traits or living kind of human-like traits into these non-living things as well. So that being said, voice is not inevitable. We automatically, because we are hearing something, we brand it. So the biggest challenge with the automotive OEMs has been because they did not have a personality. They just thought, like we will create an experience. The user asks something, and like we'll just respond back. But that did not work. Thanks to Alexa, Google, Siri, they have set the bar so high that we need to really think about having a personality now, because, that depends. The utility depends on, how they feel, about the interactions. If the users feel they are, engaging with a friendly bot or a witty bot, they would want to engage more. So you need to really decide based on your branding guidelines, like, what should be the bot's personality. And it is really important, because then it not only helps people to connect to it, but also helps the company design the standard vocabulary, so that if I have 20 different skills or features, and 20 different people designing, it's all over the place, because like everyone is just writing in their own version. So the bot personality would also help us create some sort of standard vocabulary or a style guide, which can help inform, like, this is how the bot speaking style is, or this is how the tone of voice is, or this is how the choice of words are, and things like that. So I really feel, it's very, very important to make that initial connection, that we have a personality which we want the users to connect with.
Yeah, as a brander myself, I couldn't agree more with that. And I love that you're pointing it out, that it's really important to brand your thing, because I think also if you're using an Amazon or a Google Voice, it's their brand. So it's important to have your own. Mehul, any follow-up or comments on that?
No, these are great points. And we really strongly believe that there's going to be a diversity of voice assistants, and they got to match your own brand, right? The automakers, for example, have spent billions of dollars building up the brand and building up the style and your unique ways, not just as the overall companies, but within the companies, the products and the cars, right? And so users are expecting that the voice assistants and assistants in general in those cars going to carry on that personality, right? There's one personality in your SUVs, other personalities in your nice, luxurious cars. And to hijack all that and just have one single personality coming up in all cars, no matter what, that just doesn't make sense, right? And so we, as a company, really believe in making sure that each of our partners have ability and then can carry and extend the brands going forward. So completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, we have, it looks like Jill Tier said, I think it's beneficial to discuss the benefit of emotion-aware systems in the automotive industry. For instance, understanding the urgency of the intents and respond accordingly, which is similar to kind of what we're talking about here. And, we have a couple minutes left. If people want to connect with either of you, if they have questions about how this works, maybe they're in the industry, maybe they're in the auto industry, they want to add voice, where is the best place to do that online? Shamala, I'll start with you.
I'm very active on LinkedIn. So, you can reach out to me there and I'll be more than happy to connect.
And likewise, Shamala's LinkedIn's easy, best place. So yes, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yes, as well, LinkedIn for all of us works well. I thank you all for joining this panel. If you have any other questions, you want to further the interaction, you can contact any of us either on LinkedIn or during this conference to set up a table. We'd be happy to chat and answer any of your questions. I thank you both, Shamala and Mehul, for being here, for the great work you're doing in the auto and voice industry, and for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Carrie.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Carrie and Shamala. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.